Do stay with us, just for our viewers. It has not been independently verified that Iran has executed any of these protesters, but I'm sure we'll get some sort of update when it comes to Israel-Syria at the head of the Israeli team, along with his military secretary, Major General Roman Goffman, and acting national security advisor Gil Reich. Trump has expressed hope for a diplomatic accord between Israel and Syria after the IDF seized parts of southern Syria, mostly within a UN-patrolled buffer zone after the collapse of Bashar al-Assad's regime in December of 2024. IDF troops, meanwhile, have been operating in areas up to around 15 kilometers inside Syria, aiming to capture weapons that Israel says could pose a threat to the country. So talks are commencing once again in the French capital between Syrian and Israeli diplomats. But of course, territory remains a sticking point within these talks. Of course, the Golan Heights, seen as an occupation by the international community and the United Nations, not by the United States. Of course, they were recognized as Israeli territory by Donald Trump in his first term. But you have further territory being held by Israeli troops, as we've said, 15 kilometers inside the Syrian border by IDF post Bashar al-Assad fall. How central is territorial control to these talks?
My guess is they are the key issue. They will, however, allow the peace essentially to break out between Israel and Syria if they can be resolved. There's no prospect at all because of a 1980s law by the Israeli parliament that doesn't allow any secession of Golan territory, and since that has been recognized by the United States as sovereign Israeli territory and other nations as well, there's really no prospect of Israel compromising on that territory in the foreseeable future, if ever, seeing as it has the overwhelming military hand. There's really nothing that can motivate Israel to make any concession on that topic. However, there is a further portion of land that was predominantly, as you mentioned, part of a UN buffer zone that stood for 50 years between Israel and Syria that can now be divided up. If there really will be some kind of peace between Israel and Syria, there is no need for a buffer zone, and that can be divided perhaps 50-50, and that's what I would expect to happen. The benefit for Syria, with a GDP of under 20 billion and continual civil strife, and it has lost approximately 1/3 of its population over the past 15 years due to war. The benefit for Syria of peace with Israel is vast. They could essentially ramp up their economy in a very serious way if they had peace. There have been Jewish groups who have been visiting Syria over the past couple of months. Hopefully, this will be a sign for the future. The benefit for Israel of peace with Syria would be nice to have, but it wouldn't really make any difference to Israel economically because Israel's economy is 30 or 40 times bigger than Syria's. So time will tell if the Syrians are willing or able, because Jolani, after all, the leader, Ashara, as he calls himself now, took the moniker Jolani, which is in honor of the Golan Heights, where apparently his family came from. And his mission, baked into his original name, is to reconquer the Golan Heights. Whether he is willing to be the guy who will sign away in perpetuity the Golan Heights to Israel and finally end that conflict to Israel's benefit is unknowable. But if it does happen, that will be very big. And that will certainly, even if the Jolani regime turns out to be as fragile as some people suggest, that will certainly get baked into the history books on Israel's ledger.
Saul Sadka, thank you very much for joining us and taking the time. It's a pleasure to talk to you here on NewsX World. We have some